All right, perfect. Well, I have Amy Terry with me from 8Z Real Estate. Amy, welcome to Raising the Flipping Bar.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. So I really want to learn a little bit. You have a very unique and interesting background because you are a real estate agent. You're a real estate team leader. You're a co-founder. You're an investor. Our audience obviously skews a little more towards the investment side. But tell us, before we jump into real estate, what were you doing before you got into any type of real estate investing? I always love to hear people's backgrounds first.
I mean, nothing really. I kind of grew up in it. My parents, what we call now house hacking, were doing that when I was growing up. So we were constantly moving. My dad was renovating houses. We just were around it. And then in high school, my best friend's mom is a real estate agent. So she got us a job answering phones. And then I went to CU Boulder and started answering phones up there.
Cool.
Got a job as an assistant working for an agent during my undergrad. And the plan was always law school. I'd interned with the Boulder DA, had studied criminology, was accepted to CU and DU for law. Cool. Never wanted to go into real estate. Yeah. And when I got my law school acceptance, I just didn't tell anybody for a couple of weeks. And I felt like, maybe this isn't what I want to do. And so I went to my boss at the time just because I respected him as a businessman. And he was like, I really could use your help. So why don't you get your license, do a year deferment, just kind of see what happens.
Nice.
So I graduated in May of 2005, got my license in July of 2005. And it's been just gangbusters since.
Wow.
So I sort of, looking back now, there was really no other path. Yeah. But I kind of fought it for a while. But I really have never had like a real job. Yeah.
No, you work your ass off. This is a real job. Yeah. So I'm going to give you more credit than you're giving yourself.
Yeah. But no, I've never done a traditional 9-to-5. Like I said, I did a lot in crisis intervention. The first few years that I had my real estate license, I was doing that during the day and then working with Lakewood Police Department as a victim's advocate at night. Wow. So I was still trying to decide, do I want to go into the legal side of things and the social work side of things or stay in real estate? And, you know, my dad was the one that said, you can go into real estate and make a lot of money and make a lot of change with the money that you're making versus dedicating your whole life to change.
Oh, that's well said.
And that was kind of my dad. You know, my dad was head of a nonprofit. So he was a good buffer of like, you can kind of do both.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that it's funny you say that because for a hot second, I wanted to go to law school as well. So I was in the sports management field and I was in Florida and they're like, oh, you can do an MBA and a JD. And I saw Jerry Maguire and I'm like, oh, I want to be a sports agent. And then I saw what I'd have to do to be a sports agent. And I'm like, that's terrible. I never want to do that. And quickly pivoted. But I think then we've got friends that are attorneys and either I think you've got that in your blood and you really want to be an attorney, whatever sector, or you maybe even go to law school and you're like, this is not for me.
Yeah, I think there was about 6 of us that were pre-law. Everyone else went to law school. Only one is practicing law. Wow. But also, yeah, I mean, that was the huge shift for me when I interned with the DA and saw what the day-to-day was. And unfortunately that the justice system is a business. Yep. You go in with all these ideals at 20 years old. So I'm glad, and I would give that advice to anybody, is kind of dabble in it before you make the huge commitment for the financial commitment, emotional commitment, time commitment. Yeah. And every once in a while, I still think about going back now for real estate.
Okay. Yeah. That fit.
But I'm just a nerd. I really like school. If someone would pay for it, I'd do it.
Yeah. That's the advice I always give too, is I'm like, especially for advanced degrees, go get a job, do whatever you're going to do. See if somebody will pay for it first. I think we've got a massive, that's a whole nother long podcast, but student debt problem that people are getting these really expensive degrees. And unless you're hyper-focused, you're going to take forever to pay that thing back. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And you may not even go into that field.
Yes. Yeah. Very true. Or change 10 times. Cause that's what, kids these days are going to change their, major or their occupation 100 times or whatever. Yes. So interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I want to now know, and I want to hear a little bit more about 8Z. So you are a partner, you are a founding member. So tell us about 8Z Real Estate. And I love that, you were there from the beginning and you guys are doing and have done some very creative ways to operate real estate. But tell me about how you got into 8Z and what you're doing at 8Z Real Estate.
Yeah. So as I said, when I started at Boulder, I was just answering phones at the front desk. One of the agents offered me more money to come work as his assistant. And he has a master's in computer science. That's his realm. He knew the future of real estate. And this was just when the MLS was going online. And so he started cohomefinder.com, which for those of us that have been in the business a long time, it was a very popular website. Yeah. And he generated a ton of business. And this was before Zillow and all of that. So we kind of, our roots were in this like internet lead business, and we were all with Remax.
Okay.
And then the crash of 2008 happened, things kind of shifted. And at that time he decided, I'm going to start my own brokerage.
Wow.
So there was about 30 of us that decided to go with him. And the mission behind it is we felt like real estate was broken. We felt like there was a lot of things in the industry that was broken for agents and consumers. And the best way to address that was to start our own brokerage. So yeah, we started in 2009 with about 30 of us. We're about 200 agents statewide now. And we focus more on high producing agents. We only take full-time agents. We're definitely quality over quantity. So we have grown slowly. But yeah, it's been a fun journey to be able to help build the culture and build, what's most important and really fix things for agents and consumers. There's so many things about real estate that, silly things. I remember him being like, what other industry do people put their pictures on their business card?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's true.
Or what other industry do you pay for copies at your office? Like just weird things and then bigger things, right? Like transparency for consumers and transparency within a brokerage. That stuff is all really important to us. So it's all about clients first. We have an internal saying, if we ever find out you're representing the deal and not the client, you're gone.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of integrity, which I really appreciate. And I've seen them let people go that are top producers because they're not doing right by their clients. So it's something I'm really proud to be a part of.
Nice. That's awesome. And then you have your own team in Littleton, Colorado. Tell me a little bit about your team, and then we'll get into the investment side of what you've done in the past. Yeah.
So right now I have 14 agents, and we're based right in downtown Littleton. And everyone kind of focuses in that Southwest Denver area. And again, we really focus on high producers. Everyone's a full-time agent. We have a lot of support. We've got, transaction managers, listing managers, a full marketing staff. We really think agents are most valuable face-to-face with clients. So we're going to take care of as much as we can for you so that you can be belly to belly with people and sell more real estate. But yeah, I opened that, not that particular location, but we opened that office in 2010.
Okay.
So again, slow growing. That's like one agent a year.
Yeah. No, but you've been strategic and smart about who you've brought on.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, and I'm really interested to get your take because you wear an investor hat. You've been an investor and are an investor yourself. You're obviously a fantastic real estate agent. Maybe give our audience a little bit of a framework of what they should look for when they're hiring a real estate agent who has experience in the investment world. Because there are a bajillion real estate agents out there, even with some of the exodus that's going on. Maybe talk a little bit about, because you've got both hats, of what should somebody do and look for in picking the right agent to help them with, whether it's rentals, whether it's Airbnbs, whether it's our world of fix and flips. What should they look for with the right agent?
Experience out the gate, or at least they're surrounded by, because I will say there's some value in someone that's newer and hungry and you're like their only client and they're boots on the ground working their tail off. So I wouldn't dismiss someone just because they're new, but at least make sure they're surrounded by good mentors. But yeah, it amazes me it's very common to be interviewed to list a home. It's very rare that buyers interview you to help them purchase a property. And I think it's very important to know that this agent understands what your goals are and that they can speak from experience, either with clients or better off with themselves. So if you are someone that's looking to do fix and flips or invest, best case, your agent's also going to have experience with those things and have great connections. I think the biggest thing about succeeding in real estate and investing in real estate is surrounding yourself with good people across the board, whether that's your financing, your agent, your vendors. All of that can make or break. So just ask the right questions and do they have vendors? Do they have contacts? Do they have a lending person they can connect you with? Can they really guide you through the whole process? If you're asking questions and they're a deer in headlights, it's probably not the right person. And if you really don't even know where to start, talk to that person and ask them, what should I know? What should I be aware of? Same thing. If they're like, I don't know, then it's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good advice. And maybe let's jump into some of your experience with investment real estate. You've done Airbnbs, you've done rentals, you've done development. Maybe give us a little bit of a cross section of some of the things you've done and what's kind of resonated with you. Because I think our audience can get really fragmented and they can do all these things and you've done them well. So maybe give us maybe a chronological order of kind of some of the investment stuff you've done and then what what has become your passion and where you're leaning going in the future from the investment side?
Well, it started for me, I bought my first place at 22, mostly because I got my license and I felt like a fraud selling real estate if I didn't own any.
Yeah.
So I bought a little condo that was a short sale and it was trashed, and my dad helped me fix it up. And then a friend of mine from college moved in and rented the spare bedroom, and she was paying more a month than I was.
Nice.
And I was like hooked from that moment on. I just realized how powerful owning real estate was. So from there, I basically, I guess you could call it house hacking. I bought and kept and bought and kept and bought and kept. And then I started buying. Once I had enough income generating where I could do a down payment every year, then I was just outright buying rentals. I've also done a couple fix and flips in that period as well. We were just talking about this before.
Yeah.
I love being on a construction site. I love fixing up a property. I love the end result. I love all of that, but it takes so much time away from my actual business. So it almost feels like a passion project when I'm doing a flip, and it's just not the best use of my time. So I'm in the mode of buying and holding.
Yep.
But what I also love about real estate is that you're never bored because you can always go a different avenue. You can always learn more. So I've also done some projects where you're buying land, subdividing, selling for a profit. I've done scraping and building. Again, all of those are development is probably actually building from the ground up is probably my favorite, but it is extremely stressful, extremely risky, and all consuming. So I haven't done a project in, I think the last build I did was in 2018. So it's been a while.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's not our sweet spot. And we just try to find good partners that's their jam, and we refer out because you're right. It's very, very involved with ground up construction.
Yes. It's, I love the design, both houses that we did, I actually got to design with the architect, and that piece I really enjoy. And again, that was more of a passion project. And then most recently, I just purchased 18 acres down in Sedalia, sought out water rights. So I learned a whole lot about water rights. That was about a 1.5-year process with the state of Colorado and a water attorney.
Wow.
And now I'm kind of just sitting on that, stewing with what I'm going to do with that project. But yeah, for me, it's been kind of dabbling in everything. But personally, my best ROI and I think the best use of my money is buying and holding, whether that's for a short-term rental or a long-term. Yeah. And I originally set a goal to buy a property every year till I retired.
Okay.
I've now backed off that a little bit because it is, the more properties you have, the more headaches you have, the more, and you get to a point of like, what's the end game here, and why do I want more doors? Just because I set that goal. So now I'm more strategically, when a really good opportunity comes up, I'm prepared to jump on it.
That's really smart. And actually, that's interesting you said that, because before this podcast, we recorded with Chris Lopez, and he focuses really, really heavily on return on equity. So you're right. It's not about just the number of doors, or we kind of come up with these magical numbers. It could be cash flow, and that's helpful, but it's what can you do with the equity? And you're right. You hit a certain point of your life, and it's like, I don't have time to manage 17 single family properties or, 12 duplexes or whatever. And can you roll up into a development in Sedalia or an Airbnb or a multifamily syndication or whatever? So I think you're right. People need to really sit down and, people go over their stock and bond portfolios usually annually or with your CPA. I don't think, maybe this is a question. Do you think people review their assets often enough and see what they're doing with their real estate equity?
I don't think people do on their own, but as a brokerage and as an agent, that is something I really try to do annually, is we call it an annual real estate review. And so I do try to get face to face with my clients, just as I do with my financial advisor, just as I do getting a physical with my doctor. Sit down and look at their equity, what's happening in the market, what we're expecting to see the next year, and then discussing any goals that they have and how can we use your real estate to reach those goals, or do you have specific real estate goals? So I try to kind of force that on my clients, but I don't think it's natural. Some people are very into it and they'll reach out to me. Well, we want to do this. But some people, I think it's out of sight, out of mind. And maybe they'll hop on Zillow once in a while and see what their estimate is.
Right. Yeah. Which is always right. Zillow is always right.
100%.
It's always spot on.
Yes.
And you brought up another good point that I want to touch on, which is people being in their sweet spot and where can they make the most money? Because to your point, if you're a high producing agent, you're running a team, you probably shouldn't be the one always getting drawn off and doing fix and flips yourself or whatever. And so for us, actually, we ended up doing a partnership flip with one of your agents, Luke, who's a rock star agent, is doing phenomenally well on his own. He had some extra capital. We had a deal we wanted to take down. And so it's like, let's all partner with the right people.
Yes.
But maybe talk a little bit about how people kind of get taken off track, or real estate is easy to go shiny object. And it's like, no, if you can clear a really great commission and help a family out and maybe get a great relationship, you probably shouldn't be doing a fix and flip because you might not know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one piece that I work with my agents is just getting really clear on what your why is. Why are you in this industry? What are you trying to achieve? And maybe it's like, for me, I'm very passionate about helping clients grow long-term wealth through real estate. That's my why for working with clients. So I think get clear on what your why is, get clear on where your time is most valuable. What are you worth per hour? Break that down. Or what do you want to be worth per hour? And how do you get there? And I do think to a certain extent, you do things that excite you. So if it is really exciting and it's not going to super distract you, then go ahead and do it. But yeah, I think weighing out where your time is most valuable and also taking your ego out of it. Like, you don't need to be involved in everything to be successful. And that's something I've struggled with over the years. And it's also ego and being a control freak of like trusting other people to do things. But yeah, I think you guys are a great partnership. And I was telling you, my wheels are spinning because I love the idea of a flip. I think they can be great investments, but I don't want to manage a project.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go by every couple of weeks and be like, oh, cool. Look what we've done. I don't want to be there every day managing subs. And even if you have a great general contractor, every once in a while, you got to manage them.
Yep. So
yeah, I think you guys are a great avenue if people just want the experience, the profit, the learning about the process, all of that without the headache. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. You guys unfortunately, I've seen over the years an inexperienced flipper can lose money so fast.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where, honestly, majority of people I kind of deter.
Yeah.
But now I can send them to you.
Rightfully so. Thank you. We'll take them.
And they can learn.
We'll help them.
But yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, right? Is that so many people watch HGTV and they see a house flipped in 48 hours and everything goes as planned. Or they're dramatic about the things that go wrong, but they still make a profit. That's just not the real world if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And time is money, especially with a flip. And I think that's what other people, especially when people are like, well, I'm going to do all the work myself. Unless you're going to live in it, which is also a nightmare because I've done that before.
Yep. It's hard.
It's always something I think you can maybe pull off in your 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think, I think get clear on who you want to be, what you want to learn, where is the best time to spend your time. And again, a lot of those projects I did because they interested me and I wanted to learn. And that's like, once you've done it, I don't know if I need to do it again.
Yeah. No, I think that's great perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's really key. Well, and I want to learn a little bit about, you just told us before we started this podcast that you are into mindset, and tell me a little bit about the experience that you have and how does that maybe play into your real estate business? Because to me, that's actually part of what we do on Raising the Flipping Bars. We've got, like 75% of our episodes are geared towards hardcore real estate investing, interviews, sharing knowledge like this. But then the other 25% is on personal development and business development. Tell us a little bit about maybe mindset and what you do from like a personal development standpoint and how that maybe helps your real estate business.
Sure. So I have a background of teaching meditation, also very involved in energy work. Some of my agents, I think, get sick of me harping on mindset and being responsible for the energy that you bring to a room, taking the time to reset and set intentions and affirmations and all of that stuff. It is a complete game changer. And I've mentored a lot of agents over the years. And I will say I've had people that are doing all the right things, but if their mindset's not in the right place, if they don't truly believe that they're going to be successful, they're not clear on their intentions, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, I always coach my agents, you better know and believe that your clients are lucky to have you. And if you don't truly think you're the best person to help them, there's no way they're going to believe that. And if you don't believe that, then what do you need to do to get there? Is it more education? Is it just a confidence piece? Whatever that is. And I will say, and that was just from personal experience. I mean, my business exploded when I got to the place where I felt really confident and I realized my clients are really lucky to have me. I have their best interest at heart. I have a lot of experience. I'm available, I'm responsible, I'm organized, all these things.
Yeah.
And I've also seen on the flip side where I've got agents that are kind of willy-nilly with their processes, but they've got the right energy, the right mindset, and they just jump in and do it. And they're super successful.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that carries through. And then meditation for me in general is just it's a stressful industry.
Yes.
And there's so much out of your control. And so I think getting grounded and getting clear, and on the other side of that, I think when I look back to being a victim's advocate, that has served me so well in real estate. You know, my agents will say, like, you never get your feathers ruffled. I'm like, well, when you've had to do a death notification to a mother at 3:00 in the morning that her son was killed in a car accident,
yes,
calling someone to tell them a basement flooded or they didn't get the house, or it just helps me keep life in perspective. What we're doing can change lives, but we're not saving lives.
Yes.
So I think all of that mindfulness is really important, and also not tying your identity to production.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing too, especially like you mentioned, Luke, he's, you know, I hate to put that label on him, but he's like our golden boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he just out the gate closed a ton of real estate. He was rookie of the year. He's always been on the top producer board. And it's hard. You struggle with, what if I don't want to do that one year?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to separate your identity from that production and know that you're fantastic and enough if one year, you know, and I think about, my best year ever was before transaction coordinators. I did 55 transactions.
Wow.
I didn't know if I was coming or going. I gained about 15 pounds. I was miserable.
Yep.
And that next year I totally changed my priorities and my business went down, but I was okay with it and happy about it.
Yes.
And I know for some people that are trying to build a business, that sounds kind of crazy, but I think, having the right mindset, having your priorities in order is super important. And all areas of your life affect each other.
Yes.
So you have to pay attention to all areas of your life. So that's also, I think, as a mentor, I really try to treat my agents as whole people. And how do I support you in your fitness goals? How do I support you in your relationships? How do I support you? Because if those things are struggling, it's going to affect your business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think for me, I meditate at least once a day.
Okay.
And it's just a great reset, and it's great to set intentions. And also I am very spiritual, and it gives me, I genuinely ask for guidance and, you know, how can I be most of service today? How can I be most useful? Help me share what I'm meant to share or what's helpful. And I think that connection just makes life a lot more fun.
I think that is so insightful. And I think there's two things that I want to go a little deeper on. One is, you're right. In real estate, it can be super stressful, and you are dealing with typically the transaction of a home, purchase or sale is the biggest transaction in somebody's life. So I don't want to minimize that. But at the end of the day, you're right. We are not saving lives. And it's funny you say that, because when we do our teaching and I do our Elevation Academy, one of the things I start out with is actually, we've got a really good personal friend, and he's a neurosurgeon. And I remember going over there one day for dinner, and he looked stressed out, and he is normally, just like you mentioned, very even keeled and literally saving lives. And his bad day was that 3 of his patients passed away.
Oh, wow.
And after a 16-hour brain surgery, my deal might've fallen apart,
yes,
or somebody lost some money or whatever, but people aren't dying, or to your point, you're not notifying a mom that their kiddo didn't make it or whatever.
Yeah.
So it really is not life or death.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we try to focus on is, breath work, I think, is super, super important. So your meditation really kind of has my wheels spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I'm a nerd with some of the stuff that comes out from the military.
Yep.
And so all the Navy SEALs work on breath work. So you've got all these hardcore jack dudes.
They're tactical breathing.
Yes, they're tactical
Yes.
breathing and they're box breathing. And
Yep.
so it's super, super simple. But yeah, look up tactical breathing or box breathing. And if you can just control your breath, that helps so much. And I have a big poster on my office in the wall of my office, and it says slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And to your point, I love your, analogy of that you don't get your feathers ruffled. Normally, A, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
B, stuff is typically not as good as it seems or as bad as it seems. So if we can just kind of stay in the middle, but still be positive and be energetic, I think that's going to help our audience and our investor group out there, because shit's going to go wrong, and we can't help it. But you're right. Nobody's dying. You're not losing kids. We can get through this usually.
And it's also a very careful balance when you're dealing with clients. I really love that my team, we're very close, and I do quarterly reviews, and I always ask for feedback. What can I do better as a leader? And one of my agents, he was kind of sheepish about it, but he said, sometimes you're really dismissive when we're freaking out.
Oh, interesting.
Because for me, I'm like, this is no big deal. We'll do this, and this, and figure it out.
You can do it.
He said it would just be nice if you kind of met us where we're at and then solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that was super amazing feedback, because it never occurred to me that I'm dismissing how they're feeling. So now I take that time because I also don't ever want clients, because again, like you said, it's a huge purchase. People only do this every 5 to 10 years. It is emotional. And so I now at least take the time to acknowledge where they're at, sort of try to give them what they may need, but don't take it on.
Yes. Don't own it.
Yeah. And so same thing with my agents and my clients. It's like, meet them where they're at, acknowledge how they're feeling, and then solve the problem. Where I used to just jump to solving the problem.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that is just being a leader and trying to put out so many fires, and you're just trying to get through stuff. So I can see that. And that's really insightful. We do the same thing of quarterly reviews. We run our business through a model called Traction, and they call it Rocks. So you have these Rocks meetings. But I think you're right. It's good and it's bad that with experience, you're like, oh, I've done that 17 times. Yeah. Well, they may have only done it once.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that insight of like, meet them where they are. That's super impactful.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I've got 2 other notes that I want to get to. One is working with other different types of investments. You've got an Airbnb in Arizona. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of what got you into that market and how it's been going.
So people tease me. I'm a very intuitive person, and I do everything with an educated gut decision.
Sure.
I visited Scottsdale twice. Just felt like I needed a house here.
Yeah.
So I planned a trip. It was a couple trips, but I set the intention of what I wanted. This was actually ended up being like the 3rd one. I got beat out on one fell because inspection, whatever. And it's funny, there are so many things about this property that I didn't think through when I purchased it that have turned out to be super phenomenal. Cool. But yeah, I purchased that the very end of 2018. The property value has almost doubled since then.
Nice.
And I bought it thinking, I want a second home here. As long as it supports itself, I'll be happy. And that thing cash flows way more than any other property I own.
Nice.
So that's the best investment that I've made in the last 5 years. And it's the only one I actually manage as well.
Okay.
Everything else I hand off. Short-term's tough. People want like 30%.
Yes.
And honestly, I've got a great cleaner, I've got a good pool guy, I've got a good handyman. It's really just answering some questions on Airbnb once in a while. So when I look at the monthly profit, I'm like, man, that's worth the 3 hours I spend on Airbnb.
Yeah, fair. Do you use any platforms to help you with that management, or is it all kind of one-to-one communication?
It's all one-to-one communication. I will say I went through a handful of cleaners.
Okay.
I have a really great one now that I just, about once a month, I just send him what's coming up, and he's got it all scheduled and dialed in. And then the pool's just an automatic. They come once a month, service the pool. Okay. And then I also have a local woman that she's great. She does like concierge for my guests if they want grocery shopping or anything ahead of time, or if I need her just to go check on the property or restock stuff or go get towels or whatever. So I thought I would get down there more than I do, but I get down there maybe twice a year right now.
Okay. If it helps, we do not use it ourselves. We've got an Airbnb that we bought, our short-term rental in Montana, and it's too remote to be serviced by this platform, but there's a platform called Guesty.
Okay.
And so I would check that out because it helps you. It's a very nominal monthly fee, and you have to put in the work up front, but you have to auto-populate what would all the responses be, what would the major trouble sources come from, and it gets it ready to go, and then they handle everything. So it's kind of like property management for short-term rentals, super reasonable, and they can typically handle about 90% of the problems. We would do it, but they don't service the remote area. But yeah, it's called Guesty. So you should check into that. And I think that would totally help. And then just get like all that normal stuff that just comes. And then they're great from a system perspective. So a week out, they get a message, a reminder, check-in instructions, follow-up instructions, prompting them to share reviews or whatever else. Yeah, it's called Guesty. So
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah,
and I will say I do use, it's a platform called Beyond Pricing. They do my dynamic pricing.
Cool.
My first year I made a lot of mistakes and missed like waste management. My house is very close to the waste management golf tournament. I mean, that weekend is how much money I can make that weekend.
Yes.
So like the first year, I just wasn't aware of Barrett Jackson's, right? Like there's a lot of events right around the house that they go in and see what other houses are listed for and adjust your pricing. So my profit went up significantly when I started using them as well.
Nice. No, I think, and that's a really good takeaway because I think between people, whether it's property management or pricing help, like, yeah, it's a bit of an expense, but think of how much money you left on the table, just not knowing.
Yeah.
I think that's where people really need to value their time and expertise and work with people or platforms or pricing companies.
Well, and last year it was the Super Bowl and Waste Management were there the same weekend. Right. And it's like, paying attention enough a year in advance to be updating that. So yeah, that's a valuable tool as well.
Yeah, that's really good. And then kind of going to a different investment strategy, tell me a little bit about one of your clients who's a single mom and has this really cool kind of condo strategy, because I think it shows not only your breadth of the different types of investments that you help people with, but it shows what that is important to that person, and they've got their cool strategy. And we should all kind of lean on, I like your cross section of doing multiple things, but like finding maybe her why or her one thing. Tell us a little bit about your client that's doing cool stuff.
So I have two single moms that come to mind, but the first one is she's just extremely talented with design.
Oh, nice.
And she's actually very handy as well. So she's on her third one now, but she basically buys the ugliest condo we can find. Mm-hmm. And then she goes in and she's super creative. Like she'll go literally get cabinets off of Craigslist of like a high-end home. Mm-hmm. There's people will tear brand new cabinets out of $1 million home.
Yep.
She's super creative with the materials that she brings in, and she makes it doesn't look like a flip because it's very unique materials and design, and she'll live there 2 years. So she's going to pay capital gains. I'm going to try to start pushing her to keep them as rentals.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, she's flipped a couple of them. Well, house hacking, to me, that's still like flipping, but
yeah, I agree.
So she's done that a couple times, and it's just been really fun to watch. And, I met her actually when she was getting divorced, and I sold their house, and then it's been cool to kind of see what she's built. And then I have another client I met years ago, bank teller, single mom. She was very excited that I owned rentals. Like that was a whole new world to her. So helped her buy a townhome. And then a couple of years later, she called me and she said, I think I'm ready to do something. And actually another unit in her complex came up. Okay. So we got that. She moved into the bigger unit, rented out her old one. Then a couple of years later, she called me, she said, I'm ready to do it again. And that time she found her comfort zone is her complex.
Yeah.
So we bought another one in her complex.
Nice.
That one, she didn't want to move. So she had the down payment at that point. We just bought it and she rented it. And her daughter, Sophia, has also she was, I think, about 6 years old when we first met. She's been kind of in the whole process. Well, now she's going off to college at CSU. Uh-huh. So they just bought a fourth one for her to live in while she goes to school. Yeah. And it's just really cool to see, like, she never, she's like, I'm putting my daughter through college because of these properties. And Sophia's into it because she's like, these are going to be mine one day.
Yeah.
So again, it was something that when I first met her, never would have been on our radar. She didn't think was attainable. And I had someone, once tell me, which I really liked, is that real estate's not a get rich quick. It's a get rich for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And that's what, for her, it's been a slow burn. It's been over 8 years. She now has 4 properties, but that's amazing. The equity that she has, the cash flow that she has, and she's setting herself up for retirement and putting her daughter through college and all of that. So.
No, and that's super impactful. And I think if people have some semblance on reserves to set aside, and you're right, they've got the fortitude to stick with it, no one ever looks back typically 10 years or more and says, I wish I wouldn't have bought that real estate or that much. Every single person says, I wish I could have bought more, could have done more, whatever else. I mean, there's always, I'm really sensitive that within a 1 to 3 year period, you need to be pretty damn careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, long term, she probably all would have said, I wish I could have bought double, would have bought double or whatever else. So yeah, that's a good strategy.
And rents go up almost every year. So you're getting a raise every year. It's just that I would say that is more my typical client is the someone that came to me as just a typical home buyer, and then I turn them into an investor. Yeah. Also, I would say 60% of my listing consults, I talk myself out of the listing. Okay. I talk them into keeping that as a rental and moving on to their next property. Not everybody wants that, but I never, ever, ever want a client to come back later and be like, why didn't we discuss that as an option?
Yes.
Every time I go into listing consult, I'm also bringing what they could rent the property for, what their equity statement, like what we could do if they wanted to keep it. Yeah. And I think that's a conversation a lot of agents are just not having.
No, that's super smart. Well, and kind of along those lines, we're recording this late or at the end of the year for 2023. We've got a quarter left. It'll come out here shortly. And then looking at 2024, where do you feel like, $1 million question,
I know.
$1 billion question, but I'd love to get a good cross section of where people feel like the market is going in Denver, but maybe more importantly, why? So whether that's a specific data point, whether that's an information service, whether it's another smart person you follow, for content, like where does your gut and your data tell you that the market's going in Denver? Yeah. As we wind up this year and more importantly, going into 2024.
I mean, honestly, I'm not a huge data person. Okay. I glaze over with that. A lot of mine is, again, gut instinct and experience.
Yes.
and what I'm seeing in the market. So I have a lot of people, that think prices are going to come falling down. I think we'll be flat. I think we're going to see a seasonal decline in prices over the holidays, which we always do. It's a great time for investors to jump in.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming 2024 will stay pretty flat pending what happens with interest rates.
Yes.
I do think interest rates will come down simply because it's an election year.
Yep. I agree.
But then also because it's an election year, every time buyers sit tight till the election's over, which really nothing dramatically changes.
No.
So I don't know why everyone feels the need to hold tight until someone's elected.
I totally agree.
But it'll be a little slower because of that. But I have this conversation a lot that we're not going to see this slew of foreclosures. We're not going to see prices drop. One, people have equity. And so if they get to a point they can't make their mortgage payments, they can sell and get out of it. And there's just so much buyer demand in Colorado.
Yes.
People don't want to leave here and people want to move here. The job market's strong. I just don't foresee any reasons why prices would go down. And I feel very comfortable. And I just had one of my newer agents is buying for himself right now. And he asked me, he said, do you think I'm crazy? And I said, I think it's actually a really great time.
I agree.
And I feel very confident in that. And obviously there's nuances, right? And that's when people are always like, how's the market? I'm like, well, what market?
Yeah.
What market are you interested in? Because it's going to vary. And what's your life situation? I'll give you different direction and advice. But in general, I do think it's a really good time. I mean, I'm going to be looking fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a good time.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we do ourselves and advise our clients that hands down, if you can just write this perfect playbook, it's acquire in fourth quarter and it's sell in first quarter every single year, whether it's up market, down market, that's the best time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw another piece of data where only 3% of the country has less than 30% equity. So and people are like, yeah, there's going to be foreclosures. And I'm like, okay, so here's the stack, in my opinion, of how properties are going to get scooped up. It's going to be with traditional folks buying and selling, which there's constriction on supply. There's then going to be other investors or actually I should back up. There's hedge funds that if it gets to a certain point, Wall Street, they'll buy properties to keep as rentals. Then there's the, kind of mom and pop investors that are going to buy rental properties. Then there's flippers. And then there's the disaster destruction. So we've got to hit 5 different levels of insanity to have a significant housing crash. There'll be price adjustments. Mm-hmm. And really there was a significant adjustment in 2022, mm-hmm. but I'm totally with you. We don't see that data. We don't see that in our day-to-day business. I'm with you. If you can buy, I would advocate buying, and we're trying to buy everything we can afford.
Yeah.
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 Tell me a little bit about, so you have an investment company, you do investment properties, you've got a team, you're a partner in 8Z. How do you work on your business versus in your business, which is day-to-day running around? You just got a really busy schedule. Is there something that you do to kind of help you step back and do strategic stuff to be on your business?
It's strategic, but it overlaps with my personal life. Okay. I really enjoy entertaining.
Oh, cool.
So I've always got people over for a Bronco game or any excuse to have a party. I'm having a party.
I love it.
So I'm just a social person in general. And that just creates good opportunity, and mentoring agents too. It's a good reminder. Don't invite the same 10 people over every time.
Yeah.
It's easy to get into this kind of rut of hanging out with the same people every weekend. And so you have to also be strategic about who haven't I seen in a while and spending time with them, but also doing what's genuine. Luckily I'm far enough into my business. I don't ever have to call someone just to try to drum up business. I'm generally calling. I want to catch up with that person and see how they're doing and connect. And I also CrossFit, and
cool.
You just automatically create a lot of connections at the gym. And the nice thing is I'm not a salesy person, but the nice thing is you do a couple deals with people there and then they become your advocate, and they're like, they hear someone selling, they're like, oh my gosh, you got to call Amy. She did a great job.
Yeah.
So it's being in those social circles, and then also recognizing everybody knows it's going to probably go down next year. Thank goodness. But I think the last stat I saw was people know 11 agents.
Yes.
So then how do you be the one that's consistent and professional and knowledgeable and the one that they're going to choose? So that's the other piece, is showing up, but also showing up with intelligent conversation about it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I've got one other thing that I want to have you share with our audience. I always ask people, what's a fun fact about you? You have a cool fun fact. I would love for you to share that with our audience, because I don't know if I've ever heard this many people. So give us your fun fact.
So I am 6th generation Coloradan. My dad's family came from Connecticut in the 1850s and actually founded Longmont, Colorado.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's super cool, especially with such a transient population. And I mean, I'm not a native and I've been here for 25 years. So 6th generation, that's insane. That's cool.
Yeah. We have deep roots and it's fun. I'm a big ancestry nerd. And so I've actually gone through ancestry.com on the census and I've made a list of all the properties that our family has owned. And it's cool. Some of it. Yeah. I mean, my great grandma worked at the tea room at the Brown Palace. And so the old census are very cool because it shows where they lived, what they did, where they worked. So it's been really fun to trace my family history through the history of Denver. And my great-great-grandfather was actually a developer in Denver in the late 1800s, which was very cool.
Yeah.
That's so many generations back, I didn't hear stories about him being in real estate, but looking back, I found some stuff. And
that's interesting.
So yeah, we have very deep roots here, which is cool and something I'm proud of.
Yeah, you should be. That's really cool. Well, Amy, it's been amazing having you as a guest. Where can people find out more information about you and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is where I'm probably most active.
Okay.
And that's just Amy Terry, 8Z Realtor. And from there, there's a link tree that will take you all different places if you want to check out my website or set up a meeting or whatever.
Okay. Amy Terry, thank you for being a guest on Raising the Flipping Bar, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.